Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to do a presentation on the following topic. Ibn Rashid explains the reason for their disagreement arises from the conflict of analogy with the general implication of the hadith. What does he mean by this? So I'm going to give an example from the readings that we had in Islamic Law 4 class explaining this in detail. So we must understand one thing. Ibn Rashid basically is always underlining the causes of why scholars differed. And it's something that we should appreciate most of the differences, because that way we ourselves can decide what makes more sense to us. And since we have different school of thoughts, we can definitely decide which one we agree with and go with that thought. So I'm going to give you an example regarding two main hadiths. So there are two main hadiths concerning expiation for the intentionally breaking the fast in Ramadan. One hadith was about the Bedouin who slept with his wife, and the Prophet ordered him to fast for 60 days straight as a penalty. So how can this hadith be interpreted in two different ways? So I'm going to explain who held which position and explain why. So the position of Shafi'i and Ahmed and the Zaharites interpreted the hadith that the punishment only applies to intercourse and the breaking the fast in Ramadan. The position of Maliki, Abu Hanifa, and Al-Thar interpret the hadith that it's the same hukm for intentionally breaking your fast for intercourse, eating, drinking, because it's Ramadan. So they base their position on the fact that it's a month of Ramadan, which is a holy month. So it doesn't matter how you break it, that the penalty, the hukm, is the same. So there's a disagreement about breaking fast for food or sexual intercourse. Applying analogy is the rational side, which is Malik and Abu Hanifa. Common analogy, both due to the sanctity of Ramadan and that the situation just never came up. So the fact that Ramadan is a very sacred month, and just because that situation didn't come up, they believe that the hukm is the same. The Shafi'i and Maliki argue different penalties because the physical desire of sexual intercourse is stronger. So they believe that that's something that that person should have stopped. And therefore, because they didn't stop it and they went that far, that the penalty is definitely a lot higher in degree. Therefore, as different penalty, and the Prophet meant, so they believe that that should be a different penalty for those who break their fast during Ramadan for food and drink versus for intercourse. So the Shafi'i and Maliki argue different penalty because the physical desire of sexual intercourse is stronger. Therefore, has a different penalty, and the Prophet meant to restrict it only to the specific group. So basically, making analogy, Malik and Abu Hanifa doesn't mean they don't apply to the other two. That's what they believed in. So let's go back to the verse of the Quran to get taqwa. So basically that person had failed to have taqwa. And so that will be penalized on the things that are the highest in breaches. Even worse, to have sexual intercourse. Ibn Rashid was referring to the Zaharites don't accept analogy. Shafi'i school, Hanafi, don't have to make up the 60 days. So those who are siding with the Shafi'i position and the Hanafi believe that if you did break it for food or drink, that you do not have to make up the 60 days. And the other side believes the opposite. So basically there's different narrations, specifically how one breaks his fast. They basically are underlining, if you take both hadiths, it is not persuasive. So Maliki's school and the Hanafi school prove, quote, the hadith. The Shafi'i and Hanbali will say the correct opinion is, and not give the analogy of misrepresenting the other side. So here you have a perfect example of where basically there's a reason for disagreement and how this arises in conflict of the analogy with the general implication of the hadith. So this is a perfect example of one of the readings that we had during our Islamic Law 4 class, which shows you that there's definitely a difference of opinion on that matter. There are many other subjects that we have discussed underlining differences, and the reason for this disagreement is and conflict is between the traditions and analogy and dispute of the authorities of the tradition. So we will always find the reason for that is due to those facts, that there's a differences of how they interpreted the authorities of the tradition. So there will be many other situations. The good thing here is we can always take other similar cases and in the future and compare it with those that the scholars have went with the time of the prophet and how they believed was interpreted, and we can come up with the answers for new situations. The great thing about this is we're going to appreciate most of the differences. It's something that we can appreciate, and we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves on just our own opinions. It's good to learn other opinions and how to tackle in the future these new contemporary issues. Thank you. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.